Righto, guys. So I thought what I'd do is just run through some of these solutions in a video, just to help with some of the explanations and understanding about what's happening with these indices. So I'm having a look at 9 to the power of 3 over 2 here. This is from Monday night's homework. We did this one in class. Text dragged down there, which is weird. 9 to the power of 3 over 2. So we discussed what this is fractional index means. The base, remember the denominator, that means take the square root of 9, which we'll do first, and then we'll raise it to the power of 3. That's what the 3 means. So the square root, there's a little 2 in there. We don't put it in, but that's the default. So if we don't see a number in there, we assume it's the square root. But if we're taking any other root, we need to insert the number. All right, but that's a square root of 9 to the power of 3. So we say that that's 3 cubed, which is equal to 27. 8 to the negative 2/3. So this, the negative means stick it in a fraction in the denominator. So it's 1 over 8 to the positive 2/3, which is 1 over, now this 3 in the denominator means take the cube root of 8. And the 2 means square it, right? So now I've got 1 over the cube root of 8, which is 2, squared, which is 4. So I end up with 1/4 as my solution. 16 to the negative 3 over 2. That's 1 over 16 to the power of positive 3 over 2, which is 1 over the square root of 16. I think we did this one in class right at the end. And we're cubing the result, 1 over the square root of 16, which is 4 cubed, which is 64. So we end up with 1 over 64 for this one. 27 to the 4/3, that's the cube root of 27. And the 4 means raised to the power of 4. Cube root of 27 is 3. So this is 3 to the power of 4, which is 81. Right, this one here is a negative, so we deal with that first. We go 1 over 81 to the positive 3/4. That's a little 3 up there. That's 1 over the fourth root of 81. The 4 in the denominator means take the fourth root, and the 3 in the numerator means cube it. Cube the result. 1 over the fourth root of 81 is 3. 3 cubed is 27, so we end up with 1 over 27. Now the answers are all here, however, they're not very helpful if you can't get to them. Righto, so the second question here from last night's homework, x to the 6 over x to the negative 2. We now know that negative 2 becomes positive 2 in the numerator, so we just end up with x to the power of 8 there for the first one. The second question, look at that 12 and 3 become 4 and 1. I can just cross them out now, 4 3s and 1 3. But that y squared ends up in the numerator. The 4 stays in the numerator. The y to the negative 5 becomes y to the positive 5 down in the denominator. So we end up with 4y squared over y to the 5. That lower power gets removed and subtracted from the superior power. So it becomes 4 over y to the power of 3. That's our final answer. This one here, we're going to take that 3 and cube it. That's 27. T cubed gives me t to the 9. Q4 cubed gives me q to the power of 12. And this guy here, I think we did this one in class, didn't we? 3z to the power of 4 times 10 cubed, which is 1,000. Z cubed, that's all over 125. Z to the 5, and I think we got 3,000 z to the power of 7 over 125. Z to the 5, that z to the 5 we end up with z squared, and it was 3,000 over 125, which I forget what that was. It must have been 24 z squared over 1, or just 24z squared. All right, down to the second part here of last night's homework. 4 times 3 is 12. Add the powers, a cubed, b to the 7. No problem. 2 to the power of 4 is 16. A cubed to the power of 4 is a to the 12. B squared to the power of 4 is b to the 8. What have we got here? 18, a to the 4, b to the power of 4, c to the power of 4 over 2a squared bc cubed. Then we go 9 2s, 1 2. A squared, b, lose the b, reduced by 1, lose the c cubed, reduced by 3. So we end up with nothing in the denominator, so just 1 in the denominator. 9a squared b cubed c. D, 4 squared is 16, x squared y to the 4 over 8x cubed. 8 becomes 1, 16 becomes 2, x squared goes, x cubed becomes x. So we end up with 2y to the 4 over x. And lastly, the square root of 9x to the power of 6. So this is, I could write this as 9x to the 6, y to the 4 all to the half. It's going to be easier for me to understand. And in the denominator, I'm going to end up with 9x to the power of 4, y to the power of 6. Now, in the numerator, 9 to the half is 3. X to the 6 to the half is x cubed, because I multiply the 6 by the half, and I get 6 times the half is 3. Y to the power of 2, that's all over 9x to the 4, y to the 6. 1, 3, and 3 threes. Lose the smaller, reduced by 3. Lose the smaller, reduced by 2. We end up with just 1 in the numerator and 3xy to the power of 4 in the denominator. And that's Monday night's homework. Now, Tuesday night's homework. Let's bring that one up now. Here it is here. It was this page. So let's rattle through this. I've got in my numerator 16 to the half is just the square root of 16, so that's 4. And the denominator, I've got the 4th root of 81, which is 3, cubed is 27, so that's 4 over 27. Part B, 2 to the power of 6, I'm just going to leave it as 2 to the power of 6, and I'm going to fiddle around with my denominator. 8 to the power of 5 over 2, I'm going to write everything as base 3, so that 8 becomes 2 cubed, and then I'll raise that to the 5 over 2. The 2 is already as a base of 2, so I'll leave that alone. So I end up with 2 to the power of 6 over 2 to the power of, 15 over 2 times 2 to the half. Still concentrating on the denominator now, 2 to the 15 on 2 times 2 to the negative half, Multiplication, same base, add the powers, 15 on 2 minus 1 on 2 is 14 on 2, that's 2 to the 7. Lose the smaller, subtract it from the larger. So I end up with 1 over 2 as my answer. I think that's right. Okay, C, look at all this. I've got 2, I've got 4, 8, and 16. I can write them all base 2, and that's what I'm going to do. 2 to the power of, so 4 is 2 squared to the negative 8, times 8, which is 2 cubed, to the power of 4, times 16, which is 2 to the power of 4, to the power of negative 2. So I end up with 2 to the 16 times 2 to the negative 16 times 2 to the 12 times 2 to the negative 8. So that gives me that 16 minus 16 is 0, plus 12 is 12, minus 8 is 4. So I end up with 2 to the 4 or 16 is my answer. I've run off my page. 2 to the 4 or 16 is my final answer there. So the key here is to write everything in the same base. Now D is 36 to the half, which is 6. 16 to the quarter is just 2, because that's the square root of 36. Right, that's the square root of 36. And the 4th root of 16. So that's 6 plus 2 to the third. Now that's 8 to the power of a third. And I know that a third power means take the cube root. Cube root of 8 is 2, result. All right, part E, 125 to the third. That's 5, isn't it? The cube root of 125. 25 to the half, that's also 5, because I know that that's the square root of 25. 16 to the 3/4, that's the 4th root of 16, which is 2, then cube 2 to get 8, and I'm adding 8. Now I'm multiplying by 64 to the third, which is the cube root of 64, which is 4. Then I'm adding 1 over, now this is 49 to the negative a half. Now if I actually, what I'm going to do, so I'm not going to write that as, I'm going to put that 49 to the negative half into the numerator and make it 49 to the half. And 49 to the half is 7. 49, that's the square root of 49. So I'm going to remove that again now, because I'm running out of space, and just write 7. That's my bracketed term. Raise it to the negative 2/3. Let's work out what's in the brackets. 5 times 5 is 25, plus, now I've got to do my order of operations. 25 plus 32. 25 plus 32 is 57, plus 7 is 64 to the negative 2/3. Right, and that's 1 over 64 to the positive 2/3, which is 1 over, that's the cube root of 64, which is 4 squared is 16. So I reckon we're on 1/16 there. All right, last little batch of questions where we need to complete the square and then state the coordinates of the maximum or minimum point. All right, so that's the vertex. So this guy here, I'm going to write this as y equals x plus 6 all squared, and that's it. So that means my vertex is at -6, 0. Coordinates of the maximum minimum point, and that's going to be because it's a concave up, it's doing one of these, that means it's a minimum point. I've got a minimum, minimum point. All right, let's go to the second one now. This is y equals x minus 2 all squared, and then I've got a plus 2 on the end, because if you expand the x minus 2 all squared, you get x squared minus 4x plus 4, so I have to add the 2 there to get to the plus 6. So my vertex is at 2, 2. And because it's concave up, that's also a minimum. A minimum at 2, 2. Right, let's do this. Let's do C. X squared minus 16x. Now, if I've been helping you along, you could pause here and have a go at this yourself and come back and see if you got it right. I'm going to complete the square. That's half the -16, which is -8. Square it is 64. So I need a plus 64 there. So I better take off the 64 straight away and then add the 40. Righto, so that gives me x minus 8 all squared, and then I've got the minus 64 plus 40, which is minus 24. So my vertex is at 8, -24, and that is also a minimum. These are all minimums because they're all, do you see how they're all positive x squared? So they're all concave up. They all look like this. So they're all minimum points. So I'm not going to write minimum anymore. I'm just going to find the vertex, and we know that they're all the min. This one here, x squared minus 8x plus 16 minus 16 plus 18, right? So that gives me x minus 4 all squared. Now I've got minus 16 plus 18, so I've got a plus 2 hanging off the end. So my vertex is at the point 4, 2, 4, 2. And finally, what's this guy? X squared plus 14x plus 49 to complete the square. Take it off again before anyone notices and add the 50 on the end. So we end up with x plus 7 all squared. What do we got? Minus 49 plus 50 is plus 1. So my vertex is at -7, 1. All right, that's the homework explained. Hope that helped. See you guys soon.